The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, as obnoxiously passionate about soccer as Frank Lampard after the final whistle. Gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
48 minutes on the clock. Lyon 0, Bayern 2, going largely as expected this game. We have Damien Delaney here in the studio. It's hard to take too much from this with regard to where Bayern are really, because they're comfortable. Lyon 7th in Ligue 1 have done very, very well, overachieved to get this far. Bayern have cakewalked through against Barcelona. It's hard to know how bad Barcelona are. They were ramped against Chelsea, although it wasn't the strongest Chelsea side, and they were already effectively through, and now they've beaten Lyon. So as 3 games go into a final, they've looked brilliant. But you would have to say at the same time, they haven't come up against what we would regard as a really top European team with the game in the balance to play for.
Well, what I would say to that is they haven't let any team get up through the gears. You know, I mean, the teams they're beating are very, very good sides. But as we're seeing tonight with Lyon, they're just strangling the life out of them. With the exception of the first 7 or 8 minutes, where, as I mentioned before the news there, it just took the front 6 a little bit of time to get going. And that's the best you're going to get, because they were just a yard off the closing, the pressing, their intensity. Lyon got in a couple of times, actually more than a couple of times. They got it through the middle a couple of times where Memphis nearly scored, and another time where Okembe got in down the side, and actually Davis got back with his pace, but he kind of made a hash of the clearance, and Okembe got it and had a shot and actually at the base of the post. And they got a couple of times down the side, but as we mentioned last night, I don't think they mind letting people in down the sides, because the centre-backs get back round pretty much like Davis did there. If he'd have just dealt with the situation, nothing would have come of it, you know. And here they are through one-on-one again, Perisic. Oh, with their own ball down the side. Perisic just made a great little run through the middle. Lopez read it, to be honest with you, made a comfortable save, but that was a great chance. But after that, then Bayern just got into their stride, and again, it's been the same. They've just strangled the life out of them. It's pretty clear they're going to walk into the final now, and it makes for a fascinating match-up in the final, because the one team that can, you know, stretch in behind, the one team that has got the quality in the middle of the park, is PSG, and PSG will exploit the potential weakness that we're talking about with Bayern. And Neymar has the quality to not only make passes, but he has the winning runners in Mbappe. So it's going to be fantastic to see who can get on top. But PSG will definitely fancy their chances, and it probably kind of validate your point. You're right. It's probably the real elite team they're going to come up against, you know, and they'll find it hard to strangle them the way they've been doing other teams. But you know, the teams they've been doing this to are no mugs either, you know.
I got the impression last night when we talked that you didn't feel PSG would be able to manipulate the ball to put passes through for Mbappe. Have I talked you into that more?
No, I don't think they're capable of it. I think Bayern, once that juggernaut gets rolling, I think they'll do this to anybody.
Okay.
But if there's anyone can do it, if there's anybody can, you know, because you look at it, they obviously have Mbappe and Neymar, but then you look at the other midfield players. Ander Herrera, he'll get absolutely run right over the top of. Yeah. And you look at Marquinhos, you know, he scored a couple of good goals, and he's a very good player, but he'll get run right over the top of. And then the other boy, Paredes, as well, will just get, like, blown out of the way.
So you're telling me if any team could, it would be PSG, but they won't?
It'll be, yeah. It'll be, if any team that, like, and that goes to your point and what you started with, you know, they are the best side left outside of Bayern, or not the best side, the best kind of team equipped to do this to Bayern, but I think they'll have a plan for Neymar, they'll have a plan for Mbappe, because it's one thing getting in, and even if Lyon scored tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and say, even if Lyon scored 2 in the first 7 minutes, I don't think they'd have been in the least bit worried.
Yeah.
In the same way that Barcelona pegged them back to 1-1, they just went, it's fine. You know, we're going to get caught with this system because it is slightly risky, but the greater good is we're going to tack on 5 here, and we are capable of doing that when we hit our full stride. So even if Lyon got their noses in front, not one person. I mean, I remember when Alaba scored that own goal, there's actually a little wry smile, I remember thinking, when he was getting up off the floor, as in like, Jesus He wasn't worried because he knew, like, no problem. We're on top. This goal has come against a run play. It's been an own goal, but I know my guys can get the job done here. But I think Mbappe and Neymar might be able to do something. Whether they'll be able to do enough to get 2 or 3 goals, which is what they're probably going to need in Paris. So even if they do get the nose in front, I still fancy this Bayern team just to run right over the top of them. I mean, Thiago Silva's good as well, but he's been told he's been let go, so they've obviously seen the warning signs with him. He's on the wane slightly. So, if he is a weak spot, Bayern will find it, definitely.
This is a total hypothetical, obviously, and cup competitions mean that some teams get knocked out by others and styles make fights and all that kind of thing. Liverpool at their best against Bayern might have been much better equipped than most to deal with them, would they?
Absolutely. I think
that would have been the game.
Yeah. I think Liverpool, Champions League winning team last year and the form they were in the Champions League against this Bayern side would have been a fantastic...
That would have been the one.
Absolutely, because one thing that Liverpool have in abundance is runners in behind.
Yeah.
And one thing Jordan Henderson can do is spin a ball around the corner blind, knowing that he's going to have 3 runners.
And they're a high-intensity team. There's no Herrera in there who'll be run over.
Yeah. Exactly, and they're strong in the middle of the park with Gini Wijnaldum and Jordan Henderson, and even if they want to play James Milner,
James Milner for 20 minutes off the bench would be a great player.
Fabinho, is equipped enough to deal with the Bayern pressure. He can move the ball well enough, and I think the Firmino coming into the 10 and the 2 lads making those internal runs, Salah and Mane, is one way that you could have joy against this, So I do take your point. That's a very, 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 very good point, actually. Not
that City would need to feel any more sore about things, but they'll be watching the way Bayern have been so comfortable against Lyon. And again, Pep will be sitting at home going, maybe I didn't need to do all that fancy thinking. I should have just said, go out and play.
It's not his nature to do that, Pep. Absolutely not.
You don't think he admits he's wrong too often?
Oh, I think he does. Absolutely. I think he's probably one of the most reflective coaches that there is. He probably holds himself to, from all the bits and pieces I've read, I know he can't read too much into it, but I've read a lot of kind of biographies and kind of stories.
So why don't you think he would be sitting there reflecting on that tonight?
Because it would never be in his nature to say, I should have just let the lads go and play. He'd probably be sitting at home saying, I should have went with a different plan.
Well, when I say let the lads go and play, there's a lot of thinking and thought has gone into that plan. It's 20 years work in the making and 4 years work specifically with them. Yeah. But the work was done, is my point. Give or take a few tweaks.
I think he probably wasn't. Again, we can go back over the issues that they had last night with the centre backs.
No, we don't need to.
He knew he had that problem. So maybe that's why he went with that kind of safer, maybe not too.
But I would say, looking at Lyon tonight, he's thinking, maybe I should have risked.
But you're looking at a Bayern team that are in full flow. We're thinking 101 point Manchester City. That's the kind of grooves that they're in. They don't have any weaknesses. I mean, if you were trying to pick out a weakness, you'd probably say Boateng at a stretch because he's older than the others and maybe he's not as mobile as the other back four. But I mean, even he's a hell of a player. I mean, that is like a stretch, by the way.
Weak is a strong word.
Unbelievable. But I mean, if you're looking for a chink,
per Boateng here,
a chink in their armour, you'd say he's old and that's it. But even then, he's playing brilliant tonight. So it's difficult. They really are in full flow, and they really do look. Here comes Dembele now for Memphis. So he kind of dragged them out of the fire last week. I can't really see him doing the same, but you never know.
Well, we're looking forward to the final. Virgin Media Television are bringing you the Festival of Football. Every game is live. You can check out virginmedia.ie for broadband and entertainment bundles. Niall Quinn this evening. On last night's game, he was struck by PSG and their work rate. Have a listen.
I'm sure that the Leipzig approach didn't expect to see Neymar working hard as he did. Didn't expect the front three coming at them and pressing them right in their own sort of defensive areas where they couldn't get the ball out. And as he rightly says, the backup then from the 3 midfielders, Marquinhos in the centre, the 2 wide players, it really swarmed and drowned Leipzig, because the game we saw Leipzig play before, Campbell in the midfield taking his touches, putting balls in, time on the ball into Sabitzer, he was the same, finding their way through quite easily. They never got a look in. They were completely swamped out of it, and it was energy, a desire level from PSG that we hadn't seen for some time. They got lucky, I think it's fair to say. Okay, they were a good team and they scored 2 goals within the time allotted, but it was very, very close to them going out of the tournament. And I think that boost that it gave them has energised them And they believe now. There's a belief in them, and there's the work rate is happening because collectively they're adding up to the parts of their abilities now as a collective unit, and it's come at the right time.
So just to flip the discussion we've been having about Bayern and PSG last night, which was how PSG might score against Bayern. Will Bayern have any trouble scoring against this hard-working PSG side?
No.
They are rampant at the moment. It's very hard to stop them.
Absolutely. And as a unit, which is the key word for a team like Bayern, they are an absolute unit. And this high line is key to what they do in terms of giving the platform for those 6 midfield players to go and be as dominant as what they are.
We're talking about Bayern here as if they're almost unstoppable. Why haven't they won about 3 European Cups?
Oh, listen, right now they're unstoppable, but if you're looking at, a way to get through, Barca with Xavi and Iniesta get through that press,
Okay, you have to beat the press.
Right, either passing it, or Liverpool beat the press by going direct and playing at an equally high tempo. So what I'm saying to you is, it's not unbeatable. There's just nobody at the minute in Europe that is capable of doing it.
Fair enough. So we're not saying, this Bayern team are about to dominate for the next 3-4 years.
No, absolutely not. I'm talking in the context of this year's Champions League. There's nobody with the skill set or the team, because while PSG are good, Marquinhos isn't a particularly clever passer of the ball, neither is Paredes and neither is Idrissa Gueye or Ander Herrera, whichever one of them play. They're very, very good midfield. And Niall's point there, they were very hard working and they did outrun, but Bayern have all the strings at the minute, and there's nobody really that has the ability to play through them. I mean, if PSG want to play out from the back, Kimpembe's a decent footballer, so Thiago Silva, but they're not Piqué and whatnot in his prime, where they're really going to be threading passes into Busquets and then threading passes through another line into Iniesta and Xavi and then a Suarez. You know what I mean? That's what it'll take to beat this Bayern team.
This is the last time we'll have you in studio in this Champions League season.
Yeah.
And Outside has nagged you into this. You got to do it. You got to do it. You've been asked, you got to do it.
I'm so professional. I'm halfway through it.
When did
he texted me today, and I just went, it's like a
cheap. You thought it was
cheap. It's a puff piece, where I throw out my Champions League team, and then everyone argues it, and then tells me I'm useless and know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. Deep down, I'm sort of with you.
Yeah,
but we are where we are.
100%, and people deserve my Champions League. It's just I've only got. I haven't got 2 centre backs yet, or 2 centre midfield players. I have the rest though.
Oh, for God's sake! Doing all day.
I know, and I know Ronan outside is going, Jesus.
Well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off quickly then.
Go on then.
Damien Delaney's Champions League season, 1920. He has given little or no thought to this by the sounds of things, and it's not even a complete 11. So let's have it. We won't spend 20 minutes arguing about this. Let's here we go.
I'm going to go Lewandowski centre forward.
Are you doing these in random order?
No, I'm working the other way because I don't have centre backs, and I'm thinking as I'm working back.
Oh my God!
I'm going to go with absolute.
What have you done all day?
Yeah.
Okay, Lewandowski.
Yeah.
54 goals in 45 games. That was a no-brainer. Do you even know what formation your team is?
Yeah, 4-3-3. I play in the formation that I would play if I was a manager.
Okay.
I won't be, so...
Will 4-3-3 ever be out of date, or is that just the best formation?
Well, mine's going to be more of a 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
As opposed to, flat. De Bruyne in the 10.
Okay. Lewandowski, De Bruyne.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
I'm going to go with Sterling on the left wing. Because I think he regardless of the miss the other night, he has had a fantastic season in Europe.
Regardless of the miss.
Regardless of the miss, and look, you can't judge a guy off.
Not a miss.
It is a big miss, but you have to be the team of the season, so he had one bad miss, and it is what it is. I think Cristiano on the other side, because his numbers stack up again this year, and I think he's been pretty good. He did his best to get his team through. It was just unfortunate that they didn't. Right, I'm going to go right back now.
Oh my God.
My right back is Trent, because I just think Trent's brilliant.
Is he the best right back in the world at the moment?
Yes. No, I know there's a million people screaming at me.
Who are they screaming though?
I don't know, there'll be someone across Europe, Kimmich or someone like that, but I think as an overall football player you can't ignore his contribution offensively, and at the back he's pretty good as well, My left back's going to be, I'm just going to go with Alphonso Davies for Bayern.
Yes.
because he's burst on the scene. He's demolished Chelsea pretty much on his own.
He's outrageously good.
Yeah, I mean, as an attacking weapon, it's kind of never before seen type of athleticism from a left back. You think Dani Alves in his prime is probably the best right back I've ever seen.
But his quality on the ball as well. I mean, his composure. We've just seen him there even sprint after a ball, beat his man, whipping across.
It's just I've never really seen anyone like blatantly just push the ball past someone and go, I'm quicker than I'm going to run.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's almost like him playing against an under-18s team, where he just pushes and runs and no one can do anything about it. He's been pretty dominant. I'm going to go Virgil as one of the centre-backs, because Virgil's Virgil.
And he's the only person you can think of on the spot right now.
No.
You're a disgrace.
And the next one, I'm going to go with I'm going to go Sergio Ramos, because I just like him.
Oh, for God's sake!
Yeah.
He's missed their most important game of the season.
I know, but he's had a good season in the group stages that we've watched here. He's always, top level player. There's definitely better centre backs out there, obviously.
Yeah, Sergio Ramos is a dreadful decision.
Okay, I'll take that.
That is shameful.
Okay, we'll scratch that one. You give me one then, Joe. You give me a centre back.
I'm not here to do your job for you.
Because you get the good one either.
Alaba.
Okay, Alaba. We'll go with Alaba.
No, I literally just said that because I looked at the Bayern team sheet and saw Alaba.
He's in there now because he is pretty good, actually. I'll give him that much.
Oh my God, let's get this over with then.
Okay, and midfield players. I don't know really, to be honest with you, man. I don't know. Give me a midfield player.
I'm ending this. I'm ending this. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
I did it. I meant to think about it, but
That's that. That's that. That is Damien Delaney's Champions League Team of the Year is nobody in goal. Alphonso Davies.
Navas.
No, you're done. No, you're done. Nobody in goal. Alphonso Davies left back. Virgil centre back. Sergio Ramos sort of, but not really alongside him. Trent at right back. Midfielder, no one. Midfielder, no one. Sterling, De Bruyne, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're fired.
I have 38 minutes. I'll get you something.
I don't want this. You're done. You're done. So I should mention Dundalk this evening, if you're just tuning in, 3-0 defeat this evening. They've been in ropey enough form of late. It was probably asking a lot, Damien, for them to go and win this game. That said, 3-0 is not a reflection on the game.
Well, I was trying to listen to Eric Donovan and watch the game at the same time, but I found your man pretty hard to not listen to, so I found myself watching him and kind of glancing at the game. So don't take anything I say on this game, massive. But look, I was watching out the corner.
I said this is your best ever evening on After the Ball.
Yeah, I was watching out the corner of my eye, and Dundalk put up a good showing, but they made 3 pretty horrific mistakes for the goals.
And 2 of them laid on. Like, it was 1-0 at the break, but the 2...
Yeah, but even the first one, Garland didn't have an amazing moment.
Right.
It is what it is. They're 1-0 down. But I think it was
89 minutes and 90
Sean
minutes.
Hoare tried to play a square ball to a centre-back, and I know sometimes you want to put the ball in front of him, but he put about 15 yards in front of him, straight to the opposition player, and he basically played a neat 1-2, and they had Sean Hoare kind of like chasing shadows, and they kind of knocked it back and forth. It was that easy, and eventually it tapped into an open goal. Really, they worked it really well. In fairness, to pair of them. And then later on, there was a free kick that the keeper saved, spilled out. Could have been a bit of ricochet. Kind of fell to an opposition team, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce their names either.
Yeah, sure.
Like you. And they just tapped into an empty net. But look, they weren't in any way in charge of this game, from what I saw. They weren't in any way I think they probably didn't deserve to win the game. I'm not saying, but Hoban had a great chance. Where a ball got played into him, and he was a very clever little flick header, and hit the post, and that was at 1-0. So if that goes in, he'd be my Champions League Team of the Year.
Who wouldn't? There's spots all over the place up for grabs. So that's Dundalk out this evening. Shamrock Rovers due to take on Ilves Tampere from Finland next week. Stephen Bradley has been speaking to Stephen Doyle ahead of the game.
I was just disappointed with the blanket statement for everything. I'd love to know how and why they came to that decision to put out a statement that covers everything. Because I think the league has done everything right in terms of every club you go to, every.
Sorry, I should say he's talking here about the new COVID measures last night. So this is what Stephen Bradley is talking about initially.
I was just disappointed with the blanket statement for everything, like, you know. I don't. I'd love to know how and why they came to that decision to put out a statement that covers everything, you know. Because I think the league has done everything right in terms of every club you go to, every home or away, every training session. I'm sure it's the same everywhere. Are doing things right in terms of temperature checks, in terms of surveys every morning, in terms of sanitisation, in terms of we got tested on Monday, we get tested again next week, and I'm really sure in saying there's been no positive tests around the league, and we haven't had any player come out and actually have a positive test. So I think the league deserves credit for that. I think each and every player deserves credit for that. Each and every club deserves credit for that. So I was disappointed with the blanket statement that covered everything, because I think everyone within the league is working extremely hard to make sure we do things right, and I haven't seen evidence of any club not doing things right, like, you know. So hopefully that can be cleared up. But I just wouldn't think it's fair that the clubs are working so hard and the players are working so hard to do it right, and we have a statement that covers everything like that.
Yeah, and I know the GAA have gone to Neffel and said, look, show us the evidence. Is that something you would echo? Yeah,
I'd love them to come and explain why they've come to the decision they have and how they have, because like I said, it's if they came and seen the work that's been done here and at every club throughout the country, I'm sure they'd be blown away, because everyone's really making sure they're strict on protocols. Every time we play a game, for the week leading up to it, there's so many emails going back and forth between the clubs regarding protocols, regarding testing, regarding temperature checks, regarding times of leaving dressing rooms, leaving tunnels, what entrance. And I know you can't control when the players leave your environment, but it's shown that the players have been responsible, because we've had no tests, we've had no outbreaks. If there was an outbreak in one or two teams, I could totally understand it. But there's been nothing of that. So look, I just think that each and every club has worked really hard and continues to do so. So I think I don't think that blanket statement should be true for the league, to be honest.
Just to ask you finally, the new Republic of Ireland manager names the squad next Monday. Have you spoken to him at all?
I've spoken to Stephen quite a lot since he's got the job, and I'm delighted he's got the job, because I think he's going to be brilliant for the country in terms of for Irish football. I haven't spoken to him in any sort of detail regarding players or the squad, but I've spoken to him quite a lot in football in general.
Just on that then, there's always this talk about a former League of Ireland manager going in, taking over a senior international team, and will he get respect from the players, that kind of thing. What's your own take on that?
I've no doubt that Stephen will get respect of the group. I think he's a proven manager. He's a fantastic manager. I think he's shown that over the years, and especially with Dundalk, what he did with Dundalk year on year in the league and in Europe. I don't think that would be an issue at all.
And being the best club team in the league at the moment, you must be a little concerned that he's going to take a couple of your players.
Yeah, but look, that's the rewards of doing well. If that happens, fantastic, because it means we're doing something right and the players are doing something right. So that can only be a positive.
Stephen Bradley there. Shamrock Rovers is in action against the Finnish team Ilves Temper next week. He's talking there initially about the government situation as if the games are cancelled. You know, the clubs are doing everything right, and it seems like they are, but it's just the fans attending that have been stopped, and the matches are continuing.
I know he's saying that, like, it's hard for it's hard at a blanket ban, but like there's so many people in so many, not just sport, in industries looking for guidance and kind of instruction, I suppose, from the government. And I suppose it can't do everybody. You know, the GA reading on the night, the League of Ireland are, everybody's breathing down the neck, and they can't come up and give everyone. There must be hundreds of things they must deal with. So they just
even
kind of
basketball. There, we're saying, hang on, if it's 6 people indoor, we're kind of screwed. You know,
and
they've far more of a case than anyone.
They're probably going, look, we're just putting these out as guides. Look, you're still able to get on with it. We're just saying we need to do something. We can't just let everyone carry on. But when we iron out the finer details, you know, just kind of work with us a little bit. I know there's people saying that the government should have rules for everybody, but like, it's hard, man, for them to come out with individual rules for every individual sport. Yeah. Because there'll always be anomalies. In fact, there'll be hundreds of anomalies where people, you know, are saying, well, hang on a minute, we're this. We're like rugby now, we're saying, well, can we have 2 15s at either end of the pitch? How are rugby teams supposed to train if they're limited to 15? You know, you can't, you know, even if you have practice games or padded up games. Basketball is 6, it's like indoor, you're going, well, hey, what about us? So it's too difficult to nail it down at the minute. I'm pretty sure they're doing their best.
I think any sport that's allowed to continue play matches should just say...
Exactly, we're out there.
This year is a shit show, and let's just keep it going. Like,
and just keep our heads down, and hopefully everyone leaves us alone, and we'll get through. But the games are still on. I know the revenue is probably maybe what Stephen's upset about there. Maybe the club have penciled that revenue in. Maybe they're already behind. Sure. So, but look, what's worse? No fans or no football. And I just think at the moment the football's still on. They have no fans, but they just need to keep their heads down and get on with it. And like it's easy to blame the government on this, like, but you know, and I know people will blame the government. But could you imagine like what they must be like going through at the minute, trying to iron out all the details, and every time they put one thing in place, 40 little bits crop up and go. What about exactly, this? And there's so many holes in it. Like, so, I mean, they're probably getting it as best they can. If there was just one rule for everybody, and the only rule for that is back to lockdown, like complete shutdown.
Well, that's the easy solution.
That's the only solution that's going to keep everybody
we can't do that.
On the same page. And you can't do that. So at the minute, people are allowed to be operational, people are allowed to still go out. And let's just be thankful of that. If everyone just bears in mind, you know, the minimum safety precautions, then hopefully we will come up with a plan at some point. And I'm pretty sure there are people behind the scenes working there.
I would have thought so.
Their backsides off trying to come up with a plan.
76 minutes on the clock, still Bayern 2, Lyon 0, Serge Gnabry with the goals. Any thoughts on Damien's Champions League team? Feel free to fire them in. 53106. Any contributions?
There we go. The one thing I didn't want is to make this an issue, and now it's an issue.
You've turned it into a scandal.
Absolutely.
We'll take
I should have just picked 11 players, given it to you, and moving on.
Just pick the Bayern team and just done.
Yeah, and just moved on, like, you know.
Yeah, I knew we were in trouble when you started with Lewandowski. That's when I knew we were screwed. Okay, we'll take a short break. A few more bits and bobs to get to.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. More confident than United before a Europa League final. Gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
This is not a disease for old people, as it has been said many times. The notion that it only adversely affects people who are in the older age bracket or people with underlying conditions is completely not true. I'm a 33-year-old fit young person, and it's taken 5 months out of my life so far. This is not a 14-day flu-like illness, which will pass if you're younger.
Hear the full Pat Kenny Show podcast at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
Isn't it curious that every member of your family has a different voice? That a baby can recognize their mother's voice from inside the womb? That identical twins have the exact same vocal cords but usually don't sound similar? And teenagers can sense the tone of their dad's voice when he says,
"I'll think about it."
Even over WhatsApp.
I'll think about it.
Let your family follow their curiosity with unlimited data when you bring everyone's plans together on Vodafone's multi-mobile Red family plan. Get a third plan for only €15 per month. 12-month contract, €15 per month. Max speed 10 megabits per second applies when you add Red Unlimited SIM only as a third plan with Red Family. See Vodafone.ie for full terms.
Vision Express stores are open again for all your eye care needs. So you can now book an eye test. And while we look after your eyes, we're looking out for your safety too, by following social distancing measures and using personal protective equipment. Find your nearest store and book online. We're open for you.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. As obnoxiously passionate about soccer as Frank Lampard after the final whistle. Gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
Quick, Joe.
We're back. Excuse me, sorry, I had no idea. Welcome back.
Were you picking your Champions League team this season?
Oh my God. I could have said anything to you there. Right, something I do want to talk to you about. Luka Modric.
Yeah.
So Luka Modric has a new book out. There's lots of interesting things in it. At the weekend, he told an amazing story. His grandfather was shot dead by Serbians around the time of the war back in the early 90s. Talked about it. He was 6, 7 years old, incredibly close to his granddad. And boom, that had happened to him. So there's plenty in this book, it seems. I'm sure it's not. I'm not saying go and buy it, but that was one thing which jumped out at me. The other thing which has made the news serialised over the last couple of days is just how difficult it was for him to get away from Spurs when Real Madrid came calling. And I thought it was, maybe you've an insight into all this. It was a good example of how difficult, I suspect, chairmen and clubs can make it for a player who wants to move. So he'd had a move to Chelsea blocked by Levy the summer before. He was desperate to leave. He'd refused to go on their pre-season. He'd handed in a transfer request, but there was a promise made, look, give us one more year. So Modric is saying, negotiations were tough. Throughout my career, I'd always been nothing but professional, but now it seemed transfer request and effectively refusing to travel on pre-season tour was the only way to make Levy keep his promise. Whenever I reminded him, Chairman, what about your promise? He would reply with, we'll talk, but then he would always find a way to avoid the topic or not return phone calls, etc. My representatives kept me informed of everything, as did Jose Mourinho over in Madrid. Levy was driving them crazy. It seemed every time they reached an agreement, he asked for something else. I was under a huge amount of stress. My family were under stress. Finally, we've agreed everything. You're flying to Madrid, came the word. And when all was happy, I would head for the airport, but then new information would arrive. We have to put it off. There's a new development. Second time this happened, I was on edge, falling apart, tortured by the lack of progress. I remember asking my wife, how can Levy be so unfair? Mourinho had to call the Tottenham chairman himself, tried to persuade him to accept the offer. Otherwise, Real Madrid would back out of it. And eventually, Levy relents and he gets the move. I thought, poor old Luka Modric, nice young man, no trouble, stays the extra year, promises you'll get to go then. And then it's, oh, we'll talk about it, Luka. And you can see Levy almost saying, well, if we just get into the season, Luka will do the right thing and he'll play.
I don't know, I'd say Levy was resigned to the fact he was losing him, but he wanted to get the best price for him.
That's what that was all about.
Absolutely. Like, if you promised him to leave and you say, oh, we'll get into the season, we'll keep him, you're not going to take that risk, because if the player isn't the same player, well then not only are you hurting the team, but his value drops as well, and your asset is depreciating now, and even in the Christmas window you're definitely not getting as much for him. I think Levy always knew he was going to sell him. It was just that I'm not selling him early, because I want to see what there's probably other things at play. Maybe Real Madrid were trying to sign other people, maybe they were trying to sell other people, maybe they were about to come into a little bit of money, you know. I'm not sure the circumstances around it, but I think it was more getting the best price, because he is notoriously the most difficult chairman in the Premier League to deal with. When I say difficult, like, he drives a really hard bargain. I remember talking to Andros Townsend once about this, and he was like a young boy coming through at Tottenham. And one thing that Tottenham always do with the young players, or they used to do anyway, I'm not sure, I haven't kept up on where they're doing it, is if you're doing well at 18 and you come out of youth team football and making it to 23s, they put you in a 6-year deal.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks, that's unbelievable, Tottenham. And they give them really good money. So they pay over the odds and put you on a 6-year deal. But if you now progress quicker than what your deal is...
You're Scottie Pippen.
You're stuck for 3 years on that. And he basically says, no problem, you're stuck on it, because you're not Luka Modric. If you want to down tools, fine, you're only hurting yourself, you're not really going to hurt us, because what we've put you on is a lot for you, but it's nothing for us, we can write that off. But if you do well, we're going to shaft you, because we're going to keep you on that deal for 3 years, and you can't down tools, because everyone's telling you you're trying to forge your career, you're trying to get ahead. If you down tools, it goes down as a bad mark in your calendar.
Yeah.
You have to, you've been left with no choice, just getting your head down and getting on with it. So they're notoriously terrible players for the young players coming through. They wouldn't give it to Christian Eriksen, who was like probably the greatest player, I think, in the last 5-6 years for Spurs. I know they've had lots of good players, but I think he was probably the best. And they wouldn't give it to him. But even then, they made him. But again, he wouldn't put the asset at risk. And when it came time to sell, he sold. But he got to January out of it. Now, he probably is one he prayed would kind of get his stuff together, maybe, but then he realised quickly that, you know, I need to get money now, because I'm not going to run this down and get nothing for him. I mean, I'd love to know, when was the last time Spurs lost a player for nothing? I don't think it happens. You know, this guy just is ruthless in what he does. But he's doing the best for his football club, and he's more than entitled to do that.
Would you be advising those young players not to sign a 6-year deal?
Oh no, you got to sign it. You have to, because I mean the money. And when I say it's not much money, it'll be an awful lot of money, and not, you know, nothing to be sniffed at. But what I'm saying is, if they then progress really quickly, that contract becomes so outdated and so null and void that, like,
so suddenly Dele Alli, peak of his powers, might be getting 40 grand a week.
Less even, by all accounts.
Right.
You know, Andros was telling me it was the same for him when he was there. He said, like, you know, they tied him to a 6-year deal when he was like young.
So you might be getting 20, 30 grand a week territory.
Less even.
What?
Oh, like apparently less. Like.
Oh, but you shouldn't advise a player of Dele Alli's potential to sign a 15 grand a week contract for 6 years. If
you're on 400 quid a week.
I know, but 6 years.
Okay,
Dele.
but if they say to you, if you don't sign it,
we're saying 3 years.
But they're saying if you don't sign it, because the other thing we're offering is you a platform. We're going to play it. So like we'll give you, if I'm picking your figure there, 15 grand a week, and you'll play. If you do well, we'll reward you eventually, not straight away though.
This is nasty stuff.
So that is his kind of.
But don't you risk then a team which is full of players in that dressing room in their early to mid-20s, the fulcrum of the team, pissed off.
Yeah, but they can't down tools, and they're not getting sold because they've got 3 years left on the deal. So the Spurs, and I know this, he has actually said this to players, tough.
Yeah, but doesn't that affect performance, do you think? If people are unhappy with their contract?
Because the player's so young, he's still finding his way, and the carrot of, in 2 years' time, you're going to get seriously paid. And I mean like 150 a week.
As in your next contract when you're 26?
Your next one, if you can get through this. So your agent, your family is telling you, listen,
see this 6 years
you may
out.
feel a little bit like hard done by now, but just keep producing, you will get paid.
And do they pay the market rate then when the player reaches the end of their 6 years?
Depends then, you see, on where they see them.
Harry Kane, yes.
Then they reassess it, you know, and they kind of say, well, no, we're not going to pay them.
And what happens if a player is doing incredibly well 2 or 3 years into this 6-year deal and the agent rings up Daniel Levy, for example? It doesn't have to be all about Levy.
Yeah, it is Levy.
As the example. Rings him up and says, look, I've got this player. He's now an England international. He's got Real Madrid thinking about him. I've got offers from all these players. His market rate's 150 grand a week. Now you're giving him 15. Can we renegotiate this contract and meet somewhere in the middle, if not a bit better than middle?
Absolutely. And Levy will go, we'll give you 25.
Stop.
That level of, I'm not lying to you, it's that, I've heard those stories.
Okay.
And then the player's kind of going, and by the way, it's another 6-year deal. Like, he drives that hard a bargain, and then the player goes, no, I'm not signing it. He goes, fine, well, you got 3 years to run on 15 grand a week, so all the best. And if you want to down tools, you can down tools, because it's not going to cost us any money, because your wages is nothing. So we'll happily, if you want to go and play in the reserves, or you want to like down tools, good luck, no problem. But he knows at young players at that age, with the carrot of a big payday.
Do you think it affects the player's performance? Do you think Spurs would do better if all those 22, 23, 24-year-olds were being paid market rate?
I think it's probably why they've never progressed from, you know, under Poch. We got to the Champions League final, they were finishing in the top 4, but if they really, really, really wanted to break into that next level, they needed to change that attitude. Because it was the same when Poch wanted to sign players. He drove such a hard bargain with clubs, and he just went, no, you're not doing it, like, you know. And I think he probably got, or felt like the only mistake Levy ever made was probably when they saw Gareth Bale and they signed all those Paulinhos, Soldados, you know, and I think he got burned there. And he probably thought, look, we got 100 million quid here, this is great. And by the way, I know the Tottenham owners are probably one of the wealthiest families, or the guy who actually owns it in the UK. I mean, we're talking in the billions.
Sure.
So like, but they drive a hard bargain, and they don't ever get. No one ever gets one over in Spurs. That's like a known fact in the business. Like, Levy's that difficult to deal with. But look. You know,
interesting.
It is fascinating, but at the same point, you know, players get a lot of stick, you know, when they want to move. Fans go, you're not loyal and stuff like. But when football clubs are done with players, they burn bridges with them pretty quickly. So if a football club feels they've moved past, you know, a player's ability, they get rid of him very quickly. But when a player moves past a club ability and the player says, I need to move on, the player gets, you know,
traitor.
Absolutely, but
greedy.
Right, so you need to understand that it is a business, and people, like, you know, football now is not what it used to be. The for the jersey type, it's a business.
Lewandowski's just scored here. Sorry to interrupt you. From a free kick, basically tantamount to a corner where the free kick was, and it's pretty effortless. Outswinger, And the bloke who scored 54 goals in 45 games didn't have to do much in terms of movement. I mean, in the end, there was a bit of pressure on him when he jumped.
He got up early and the centre-back couldn't get up underneath him. And he's
great header.
It is a very good header. It's actually very, very, because there's not a lot of pace on the ball. He has to generate the pace himself, but he puts it right in the corner, and that is definitely that.
55 goals in 46 matches. 15 goals in 9 Champions League matches. Yeah. It's outrageous. Yeah. The numbers are outrageous.
That's why he's in my team.
You're one of the decisions you spent longest thinking about.
Say what you say it was. He was on the telly at the time.
And look, I mean, we're obviously, before someone wants to text in and say, oh my God, for 15 grand a week to play football for a living, wouldn't you, get the violin out?
But you have to put it in context.
Talking in the context of the money being generated.
If you're at your job and you're generating X amount of money for your employer and he's seriously underpaid, you're right. It's just, and it's not his fault that the figures are what they are.
Do most clubs do that? So it's the other side of the coin is, right? Lots of football clubs are splashing money around and cavalier and Levy, in some respects, you could say, well, look at him, he runs a tight ship. He's going to keep that club on the straight and narrow. And, we've seen him to Leeds and other clubs. They should be admired. Are other clubs in the practice of doing that and getting 6-year deals that you know of?
No, because nobody wants to upset the players.
Okay.
Whereas Tottenham
not afraid to.
I mean, they'll give you good contracts, but, most clubs will nudge you forward. It's very rare that a guy will go from one extreme to another.
Yeah, but you'll often hear, Marcus Rashford has renegotiated his contract 3 years ahead of it being up because they've recognised he's not where he was. Clubs will renegotiate contracts if a player's performance jumps.
Once you elevate yourself into that elite, like Harry Kane did at Spurs, he was one guy that, and Levy's obviously a smart enough guy to go, he's now kind of outside the bubble of my skill set of what I normally use against people because he is our football club right now. Yeah. And, we'll give him the big contract because we know that if we'll always sell him for like 250 million,
And the fans might quite not stomach, those tactics alienating Harry Kane in the way they would.
Exactly.
Whoever.
Yeah. So, look, it's a fine balance. Yeah, there's no certainties with this. There's no guarantee. But Levy has this kind of business model that he does. You can look at Chelsea, the way they go about it. They got a lot of stick for hoovering up all the best players in Europe and putting them on huge contracts. Like, huge
The
contracts.
underage academy players.
Oh, my God, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds on, like, 2-3 million a year, right? But then they farm them out on loan. And they know that, like, if 2 of them, like there's 40 players out on loan, if 2 of them do well, like Nathan Ake going to Bournemouth for 30 million, Tammy Abraham, market value went through Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You can name 4 or 5 of them that if they ever wanted to sell them on, they can do that really, really comfortably. And they do sell them on. They've sold on loads of young players. Deals that you wouldn't even notice. So like some kid we've never heard of will go to Vitesse Arnhem for like 8 million quid.
Yeah.
And everyone's going, what about it?
But do you feel that's against the rules? Or against the spirit of the rules?
It's a business model. It's got nothing to do with kind of bringing players through, because for them to come through, they have to be exceptional. And they do bring players through. They have done in the past, and they are doing quite, with Frank Lampard now. So, but back in the day, it was a business model. It was a way of making money for the club, because Abramovich probably thought, I'm not shelling all my money into this anymore, so I'm going to generate money. What's the best way to generate money? Go take a 16-year-old kid at the World Under-16 Championships, a Brazilian kid or a Spanish kid, and he's on $2 grand a week at, some Spanish club. We'll give you 25. I mean, the kid's gone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. But they've realised that if they get enough of those, yes, it costs a lot of money, but like these kids are the best players in the world.
The odds are some are going to come through.
Yeah, the odds are stacked that 2 or 3 of them are going to fulfil their potential. They're not going to sit in the reserves and rot. In you come, straight back out. Wasn't that funny story? Some guys at Chelsea for 10 years, and he never actually spent the day at the club. They get a goalkeeper, I think it was. They kept loaning him out to like 5 or 6 different clubs. So Chelsea's gone about it that way. But football's a business. It absolutely is, and clubs are treating it that way.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it's gone that way. Unfortunate for the people that still believe football to be, you know.
A lot of the fans are believing in a fairy tale, and the players have no loyalty to the area or the club. And why should they? It is a business.
And that's why football clubs are the fans. The fans are the football clubs. They're the constants.
Within the confines of the dressing room, where I suspect the majority of players see it very much as business and dog eat dog. And yet at the same time, you need team spirit for everybody to succeed, because you want the team to do well. If a player's having contract issues and he has decided to down tools, be it because he wants more money or he wants to leave, but say it's just about more money, and he's down tools, he's not trying and training, and he's causing a bit of an atmosphere. Nothing outrageous, bit of an atmosphere. It's obvious he's not in a great place. Will the dressing room take a dim view of that to the point where they'll intervene and say, here, cop on? Or is there a recognition amongst pros, this is your family, this is your livelihood, you do what you have to do?
If the guy's a good guy and he's paid his dues, and the dressing room genuinely feel like this guy's being shafted, the players will kind of rally around him and protect him a little bit. If it's some young buck that's just come through and all of a sudden he's throwing his toys out of the prams, well, he's getting annihilated in training, like, you know, his life's going to be made pretty difficult, like, you know, if someone gets above their station. But I always feel if a player's doing really well and he deserves a pay rise, he should get it, or sell him. The big issue comes around, or there's an awful kind of difficulty comes with, let's say a player does really, really well, and, you know, he's on good money, but he deserves to be on 3 times what he's on. So he's renegotiating with the club. But then a third party come in, another club, and they say, we'll give you 40 million for him. And the club go, no. And then the player goes, okay, so if you don't value me at 40 million, what do you value me at? Oh, well, you're invaluable to us, but we're not selling you. Okay, well, then I want to be highest paid player. Because there's 4 or 5 guys over there that are definitely could be cut loose, so I want to be up with them. It's when the club then say, no. And now you've screwed the player out of his big money move and you won't pay him. And I've had a few situations like that where I'm like going, you got to do one or the other.
Yeah, it's not fair.
So you can't put a value on a guy and not pay him his value and then pay other people that, and that's when it gets very, very messy. And that's when it can become difficult. You see that an awful lot with teams that come up from the Championship through hard work and graft, sign a load of superstars, and all of a sudden you're going, hang on a minute, he wasn't in the trenches. So the club have to start looking after the players that are there and have done the work. But at the same point, the club need to progress, and sometimes they have to pay big money, and the wage structure then gets way out of whack.
Yes.
And then you can kind of get little bits, because the guy who was there in the trenches is now all of a sudden a superstar player, but you're not paying him. Right? And it can get very, very messy. And I've known loads of situations like that, like loads and loads and loads and loads of situations. That happens a lot. So it's up to the changing room, really. First of all, if that situation you said that happened to a player, I'd look at his personality, his work rate, is he good character, has he paid his dues, does he deserve it? All those things play into it, you know. Now, if a player absolutely down tools, you'd kind of go and you say to him, listen, your battle is with the owner. It's not with us right here. We have our own battles on a Saturday. So can you keep your battle with the owner kind of with him, and don't be taking it out on us, because, you know, you doing this in training is upsetting our preparation for the weekend, so we kind of need you to row in behind us. And that will be said, you know, and we back you and we believe in you, and we, you know, you do deserve it, and you will get paid eventually. If not, then you need to leave, or you need to go and see the manager and opt out and go and train with the 23s, because we're kind of a moving thing here, and we can't have you slowing us down. So we usually get ironed out that way between the senior players and, you know, the manager, or the senior players and the player himself.
Interesting. They're difficult little situations to handle.
They're huge. The amount of complexities that go on in the changing room and stuff like that all have to be kind of, but above all else, playing is the only thing that matters. So if everyone kind of goes, well, we stick to that, you'll be okay, you know.
Barcelona 3-0 winners. It's gone full time. Lewandowski won.
Munich even.
What did I say?
Barcelona.
They wish. Bayern Munich 3-0 winners. Lewandowski with the goal
Joe, get
in
with
the 88th minute. I'm sorry, I'm still reeling from your team. Lewandowski.
My lack of.
Yeah, and Serge Gnabry with 2. So it is Bayern PSG in the Champions League final. Back in a sec.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. More confident than United before a Europa League final. Gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
The sky's the limit when you're with 3. Our business plans are now half price until 2021. And with Truly all-you-can-eat data, you can video call from everywhere for meetings anywhere. Plus, you'll get the amazing Samsung S20 for free. Visit 3.ie/business or go in-store to switch today and start saving now. 3. Make it count. Selected plans only. Standard monthly charge applies from 2021. Up to 24-month contract applies. All-you-can-eat data. ROI only. See 3.ie.
30 days hath September, but before we get there, please remember, for all 31 days of August, we're giving you a head start on September's 2% VAT reduction across Skoda's entire range. Why wait when you can visit your local dealer today? Terms and conditions apply. Visit skoda.ie.
Picture yourself relaxing in one of Ireland's finest hotels, overlooking breathtaking scenery in the heart of Connemara. Imagine yourself at Ballynahinch Castle, enjoying miles of wonderful trails, brisk walks on local beaches and cycling the Connemara Greenway. Cozy up with dinner in the pub or enjoy a book or board game in front of an open log fire. Surround yourself with space this autumn and book now at ballynahinchcastle.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. A more electric team-up than Salah and Mane. Gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
Welcome back. So that is our show pretty much done for the evening. Bayern through to the final against PSG, 3-0 winners. Our Photo Island competition winner is Dave O'Connor. Dave, enjoy, you correctly answered 2009 was when Shane O'Leary won the Irish Open. So you're going to Photo Island, you've got a round of golf, you've got breakfast, dinner, night stay in the hotel, so enjoy all that. OTBAM is coming at you tomorrow morning, 7:30 as usual. All our social channels, you can get it on the new app as well. Just search OTB Sports in your app store and you'll find us there. Then tomorrow evening, Nathan back in the hot seat. John Giles will be along to run the rule on all the European action. Brian O'Driscoll has Interpros to preview at last. You can download, by the way, John Cooney, who was in the show earlier on the season. It was really good. But Brian O'Driscoll will be on tomorrow to preview Leinster, Munster and Ulster against Connacht. So that is all on the way tomorrow. Damien Delaney, stellar evening out of you. Well done. Picked half Champions League side and then half watched the Dundalk game. I mean, what, like, dream.
At least I knew when we were back all the time.
Well, that's true. I'm half blaming Pete for that, I'll be honest. So that is us done. Richie is in for Tom Dunn very shortly. News headlines on the way. Good luck.